Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Chad and Chong podcast. I am Chad.
And I'm Chong.
And today we have a special guest, a drummer and influencer who has worked with Kim Walker-Smith, Patrick Mayberry, Sean Foyt, and many others, who has amassed over 200,000 followers across all social media platforms. Give it up for Chris Garcia.
Thank you. An amazing golf clap, everybody. I appreciate that.
We'll dub that in with a little fake
I got that. I got that.
Like one of those, that person in the crowd.
Yay! Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And just to be super transparent, because we believe in honesty and transparency, this is his second time coming through on the Chad and Chong podcast, so thank you so much.
Thanks for having me again.
You technically did show up for a recording for season 2
That's true.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's in the vault, so comment below if you guys want to see that, because Chris dropped a lot of gold. And you still have the files?
I still have the files.
He still has a file somewhere. So drop it in the comments if you guys want to see that. But Chris, thank you so much again for coming out. I know it was quite a drive for you.
Yeah, for last time, yes.
Yeah, last time it was.
Combined, it's like about 2 hours. This time was just 30 minutes.
Just 30
Beautiful.
minutes. Okay, not
Traffic.
bad. But for those of you who don't know, Chris has an amazing following on social media. He drops a lot of content, a lot of things that really help build community, which is what Chad and Chong is all about. He helps other musicians try to get on other gigs, and as well as just dropping so much knowledge. So make sure you guys follow him on Instagram. But Chris, where did it all start for you? You're a drummer, but yeah, talk to us about a little bit about the beginnings of Chris Garcia.
The origin story?
The origin story.
Okay. Well, at first, I'll say it was like portfolio based, just trying to get stuff on social media so that if there was ever an MD or any kind of opportunity, I had clips ready to go. So before that, though, I'm going to take you back. I was in Cuba. My grandpa is Cuban, obviously, or was. I'm actually a Cuban. I was born here, but I never got to meet him. And he risked his life to leave during the whole Fidel thing. If you haven't done your history work, please go read all that. But he was one of the many that left, brought the whole family. So I never got to meet him, and he gave my family and I an opportunity to live in America, right? That's not like a political thing at all. It's just one of those where man, I could have easily been in Cuba, not having the opportunities I've had now. So I was sitting in Cuba. I went there in 2017 roughly. And I was like, man, the audacity I have to not do everything I possibly can to do whatever I have, the gifting that God gave me, or just like the education that I've been able to get over my lifetime. And I was like, how dare I not use that for something good? How about I, not only just try to go for it in any kind of way for myself, but also give back in some way. So at first, like I mentioned, and that was back in 2017. So in 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start posting, again, portfolio-based things I'm kind of doing. And then slowly I was like, man, I got to do more. There was a conviction. It's not just for myself, but there's other people involved, right? There's other people that can learn from your experiences, from your knowledge, your skills. And I just started posting, whether it's educational, entertainment, some kind of value to people. And that's one major thing when it comes to social media. You want to give value, whatever that is. It's subjective to certain people. When it comes to music, people love either just watching musical clips, fill in the blank. So to me, I was like, I got to give back in some kind of way. And this is a way to do it, whether I do private lessons or not. So I was like, the big calling for me was to give back in some kind of way where other people can say, hey, that whatever that mistake was, I'm not going to do it, right? That's one thing I believe in, telling not only the triumphs, but the failures to a degree, because that's how other people learn. That's how you become better. That's how you grow. So in that journey, for a couple years, there was not a lot of following coming, right? And I'll just go into that, where obviously 2020 we had COVID, and everybody was posting, and that was time where just a bunch of content that I was trying to figure out, just having fun with it, because you had nothing else to do other than practice, right? So in all that, there was a turn in when things started shifting, in which there was a growth spurt in terms of social media followers. And so in that, I was like, man, that's weird. I never thought this was actually going to happen, because I wasn't posting to get famous of whatever kind. I was just posting things that I thought were funny, or things that we go through, whether transitions in services, or cymbal falling, whatever it is, just things that I find hilarious or someone else might find educational. So then it started growing substantially. I think it went from, I had 2,500 followers, right, in 2021, roughly, or in 2020, and then it grew to 5,000. I was like, all right, that's amazing. I've reached my pinnacle. And then like the next month, like it grew another 5,000 to like 10,000 followers. I was like, that's crazy. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because, I'm not trying to do something, but if someone's appreciating it, let me just be someone I needed when I was a teenager, right? We all have like, whether drum idols or music legends that we look up to, which we'll get into that question in a little bit about who's overrated or not. But for me, I was just wanting to be like, I needed that person when I was younger to like help me understand things that I could clearly get, right? So I just kept posting, and then like out of nowhere, sometimes it would just double. It would just double. It would just double. So it wasn't overnight, because that's crazy. And some people have had that success, which is amazing for them because they understand how to use social media in a way where it's going to benefit not only just themselves, but other people. For me, it's been a long time coming, but it's a long journey, and there's a lot of time either thinking about content or posting it, being active on the social media platform to try to help others, because that's really, at the end of the day, what is the end goal? Are you just doing it for yourself, or are you doing it to help someone, right? And I think as believers, our main job is to serve others. And by posting something on a free platform, you're serving others in a way where it's like, hey, I learned this thing, you can learn it too. Hey, I did this wrong thing, maybe stay away from that, whatever the options are. So thankfully, I've been able to work with some great people along the way, made some great friends along the way too. And I think, it's not because of social media, but social media does help in offering a way for people to know like your reputation. Or we could talk about branding a little bit. That's another big thing that people are interested in terms of how do I brand myself or market myself, right? That's a huge way to use social media to help you, whether it's getting gigs or getting opportunities out there, because there's so many of them. So that was the origin story. I know it's a little roundabout, but at the end of the day, it's like, what are you doing for others that's going to help, build, and people might be interested in what you have to do. They might find you funny at the end of the day.
They might find you funny, but that's awesome. We're like having a good time here. You mentioned, just really when I'm listening to your story, it's kind of really an organic growth.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, when they hop on social media, they see big numbers and they're like, how did they get there? What's the viral thing or whatever? But, what I'm hearing from you, it's like there was just a genuine intent in wanting to help somebody, and social media was the platform that you saw, hey, I can use this and really just be able to help somebody. And I think it's really important, especially nowadays, since this podcast is all about navigating the music industry. It's always changing. And especially with social media and new platforms coming out all the time, nobody actually knows the secret to success right from the beginning.
Right.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about how you kind of, I don't want to say figured it out, but just because of your genuine intent and trying to stay true into your why you really wanted to do this, you naturally grew a following and people were attracted to you.
So for me, I've never paid for an ad. And so this is like, should be an encouragement to anyone. Like, you don't have to grow a following by only paying to play, so to speak, or just paying for ads. Now, ads do help for sure, but there's different methods within that. But as some of that's created organic, not only for myself, but as I touch the DJI microphone, not only for myself, but for like
Shout
other
out DJI.
Please sponsor us.
Is this the time where the commercial break? DJI, it's the camera that you can, whatever, I'm just kidding. My point is, sorry, but organically, not only for myself, but I've helped other companies. I also work for like Influence Music as an example, as their social media. I've done like Mexican restaurants and some other things, which has been a lot of fun. Actually, Vertical Drum Co., the one that endorsed me from the very start, and we'll get into that, but they had said, hey, can you help us out a little bit? So I, for free, just help them like grow their following. I think we got it to like 10,000. They're like, okay, we'll try to take it from here. I'm like, have fun. Like, it's gonna keep up the good work. And so love Josh and Evan over there. But so the secret sauce, and this is whatever that is, consistency is key. You have to show up, whether it's every day or have a schedule of that. That's number one. Number two, you have to think about what's in it for the audience. As a drummer, and as any musician, we think, I got to show off my chops so people know that I'm good. Sure, there's hundreds and thousands of you, right? The only time people are going to like want that, if you really think about it, are the ones that are on specific gigs or playing with certain like bands or artists. They're like, yeah, that's the guy that I want to be. Or you can have someone that's, I forget how to say his name correctly, but like El Sabaro Espatario, whatever his name is.
The guy that can one-hand drum?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing skill, right? We had no idea who he was beforehand. In fact, I actually had interactions with him like in 2019, right before pandemic, which was like, he was like only like 2,200 followers. No joke. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. I love his beard because like he had a sick beard, right? So I was like, this guy had like a small following, but with his consistency of growth and constantly like practicing, coming up with what I call as like entertainment. There's different forms. There's value, educational, entertainment, some kind of wow factor, right? So can you show me something that I've never seen before? And that's a hard thing to do every so often. So I'm going to go with his template. So he's an incredible drummer. This is no knock to him, right? He's an incredible drummer. Everybody should like know he has like great skill. So in that, like he started with like 2,200 followers, like I said, has now like over a couple million. I don't know, but obviously that he's done some great things. So his method is like he plays a cover song, right? Some kind of song that you know of. Take System of a Down, Slipknot, fill in the blank, right? Does something impressive above what's already impressive about the song. Like you said, one-handed drumming or flips the sticks, does like the drinking of the cup, whatever. Those kind of things are like, wow, you've impressed me because that song's already challenging. So any drummer that knows it's a challenging song says, wow, you've upped the game. You've again impressed me. That's a wow factor kind of situation. So that's a form of entertainment that people are looking for because it's taking something that you already know and taking it to the next level. Entertaining, my gosh. I'm a drummer, so like, you know, when you hit the snare drum and you accidentally hit the mic, whatever. When you have that kind of entertainment value, right? People are going to say like, wow, you've impressed me. And so people that are non-musicians can watch that and say, wow, he's doing it with one hand, twirling sticks and all those different things. That's a wow factor for many people. I can even go to like another drummer that does like puts paint on the toms and snare. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And when he hits it, the paint goes up and he has like a really good cause as it goes to like, whether it's a charity, a painting or whatever, because like he hits it and whatever. But that's a form of like, wow, I've never seen that before, unless you've looked at Blue Man Group, right? Blue Man Group was one of the best OGs at doing that, but he's just taken it and put it into a social media bite-sized content. So that's entertainment. You have an educational where there's a lot of people do great at it, where it's a quick clip of how to play this drum beat, or here's a Latin clip of how to do the songo, or how to play this chop, whatever it is, right? You have 15 seconds to show someone how, like the dessert. And I think Mike Johnson does this really good. He's like one of the original YouTube teachers, right? Yeah. So he shows you like the dessert first and then gives you the meat and potatoes or whatever you want to call it. So the dessert is, wow, that chop was so sweet or filling. I need to know that chop. Then he gives you then the actual description, how to do it, and gives you a longer, so in long form video YouTube, that works. But on social media, people unfortunately have like a goldfish brain sometimes, and we just need that quick 15 seconds. I now learned the chop and I'm going to move on, right? So just understanding what each platform is doing, right? How to build entertainment, how to give education. And then the last one is value. So value, again, it goes to whatever industry you're in, right? If you're giving someone a tidbit that they didn't know before, right? We can talk about, how to mix a snare drum, right? Or how to even hit the snare drum, a rim shot, right? Like we do that all the time. Nowadays, like many people just use the back end of their stick to get that huge tone.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, there's actually a technique that actually you don't destroy your wrist because it's the stick doing all the work with the snare drum, right? Mm-hmm. The only time you wouldn't play a rim shot is really like a soft moment or if you have triggers, right? If the trigger is not supposed to sound at the same time as the snare. So that's a value that you can give to a drummer like, hey, maybe this is how you should hit the drums. That could be educational too. But when it comes to like these types of content, this is going to bring value again to the audience. The audience is what's more important than my own ego and or what I want to get across, because you're just the vessel in which is getting it. Same like when you really think about the Holy Spirit, we need to bring the Holy Spirit to you, right? We need to like act as the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, all that stuff. So in that, the conviction comes, right? The other person's like, man, there's something different about these guys, not just like how they looked. There was something different, right? That's the value we bring, is like the same kind of concept, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to get like all spiritual and stuff, but when you really think about the concept, it's like super basic when it comes to the gospel, when it comes to like providing something for someone else. And at the end of the day, what is it? We're serving them. That's what Jesus did in all his worldly missions. Like, I'm going to go serve that person. They need healing. I'm going to go heal them. Like what we're doing for them. And in turn, through that, we're like, hey, I'm just me, and what I'm able to provide is something that I've learned, and here's how, because someone's going to hear my voice and either think I have a high squeaky voice, or was perfect for them to know and hear and understand what like I was trying to convey, so that they can get that piece of information that they can now use in their daily life, right? So that's that's like the secret sauce is consistency. If it isn't good, keep working on it. Consistency and like saying, okay, how can I do this better? What in this clip, was it too long? Was it too short? Was everything like in that piece of content conveyed correctly? Did the person understand my intent and what I was trying to say? So you're always working on that, on the visual, the timing, and all these different things. Then beyond that is it's like entertainment, educational, value. Like those are the main things, because social media has become more and more interest media. What am I interested in, compared to just having conversations like with your boys and friends on social media. So that's a very important thing to remember, that people are going to social media to like get more information or something entertaining.
How do you go about deciding what content to post across the platforms then?
So that's a great question. And I personally don't do like something different on each one. The correct way to go about it is to learn what each platform is doing, right? It's similar to like anytime you go to like a I won't say a specific room, but if you're hanging out with basketball players or the basketball fans, you're not going to talk about rugby. You're not going to, you might get into that conversation, sure, but the majority of those fans are basketball fans, right? You're going to want to talk about the Lakers and how the Bulls, when Jordan was around, was the best team of all time. Anybody?
Don't do that.
Anybody? But my point is that you're gonna have what? Are you not a Bulls fan?
I'm a Jordan fan. But
okay.
I just don't think they're the best team of all time. That's my opinion.
Look, I'm not a big basketball fan. In terms of this conversation, I can only get so far in having this argument. So in this argument, though. Jordan, no, I'm just kidding. We're not going to go into it. Better than LeBron. I'm just kidding. LeBron's the GOAT too. So we're going to, but my point is like, you're not going to go into that circle and talk about something else. You're going to bring in information that's really relevant to them. So TikTok is its own world, right? It's, we could say like, if anybody still thinks it's like, young people dancing, you're completely fooled. People are going there for like, what you would go to YouTube back when it first started. You're getting all your information, cooking recipes. My mother-in-law, no, not my mother-in-law, sorry. My my stepmom, so to speak. She had like a reel rolling over and over again on how to make actually the Peruvian pasta sauce.
Tallarín verde.
Yeah. So out of nowhere, I walk into like my dad's house and we're like gonna, have like family dinner. And I was like, that smells like good and familiar. So I go over there and she's like, I made something for you. I go, I've never talked about this, but please. And so she's like, I made, what's it called again?
Tallarín verde.
Thank you. And that's just the green sauce that that the Peruvians put on top of the pasta, right? And so she had a reel running over and over and over again on how to do the recipe, right? From TikTok, just over and over again. We're getting recipes. We're getting like, just like, think about all the content that you're getting from like TikTok. And it's not just about someone dancing or doing a latest trend. There's so much information and it's just reaching a certain audience, whether it's young audience. The actual demographic is actually like 28 to like 42 in that ballpark. Is like the main users, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. We never know. But the point is, it's just not only for those people. And so there are different things to do when it comes to each platform. So that kind of conversation, and you have to just like, on what I call it like R&D, like research and development, just like sit there and say, what are the things that they're feeding me? And then also like type in your own niche, right? So to speak. So if you're for podcasts, what podcasts are doing well? Why are they doing well? And just asking those simple questions. Same thing as being a musician, right? We have to find the flaws in us and make those better while enhancing what we already do well, right? So it's the same kind of concept. So each platform is different. Definitely post to each platform differently, but you can always just do the same thing and hope it just hits, because social media, so one of the things you asked, and I'm just going to try to tie this all in together, my mindset when it comes to all this, right? It's to never get discouraged when a video doesn't go viral or get a lot of views, right? Because I've been posting for so long. There's many videos that didn't do well and videos that I thought were terrible that did incredible, right? So there's no recipe for success other than trying to follow that guideline like I mentioned. So with that said, in my head, it's like, posting is like, and I'm going to use baseball as the analogy, right? So you're just trying to get on base, right? No matter if it's single, you get hit by the ball, you get walked, whatever it is. Posting is like getting on base. So you got on base. No matter how you got on base, you just are there. So the point in this is that you are now in the game, right? At any time, one person, and I always thought about like, who's that one person that I just want to reach? It's not about the millions. It's just that one person, right? So if that one person said, man, this is a really cool video, I'm going to follow him. That one person means the world. Like same thing like in heaven, they're having a party, that whole kind of thing.
When someone gets saved.
Exactly. And so in my head, I'm like, whatever. So the baseball analogy, you're just getting on base, right? Sometimes a video will do well that you hit a double, right? I hope people understand baseball enough to know what a double is. Sometimes you'll hit a triple. Sometimes you'll get in the park home run. Sometimes you'll get a home run, a grand slam. So for me, whenever there's a video that goes viral, when I think about like whenever anything for me is like above 100,000 views, I think it's like, oh, that's a great video for me. That's a home run. That's like almost a grand slam. I've had one recently where I was like, I just edited it in like, I don't know, 5 minutes. And it was one where when I was on tour with Kim Walker, she looked at me like, "Are you ready?" kind of situation, and I was like, and I always give her like a dumb dumb look on my face. I'm trying to make her laugh basically before she sings her note. So she did not laugh, unfortunately. She just smiled. So then that video actually did like 1.6 million. I had no idea that it was going to do that well. I just thought I was just editing something. I thought it was funny. I thought it was like education or entertainment to a degree. I thought it was just a great clip because it was about us having fun during worship, right? It was just like a great little moment. I didn't think it would do so well. So that to me is a grand slam in the like World Series, right? Because it did so well, me unexpectedly, and it did so well like in terms of like views, followers, whatever you look at it as, right? But to me, I'm about just getting on base. Like I just want to post to get on base because I know that someone like another content or something else will lead to a double, which will get me to third base or to get to home, right? Because that's the consistency. You just want to get on base, and that's like anything when it comes to like music. You just have to show up, and that's like the real truth of it all. Whether you're going to a gig and you're super well prepared, that's showing up. Being on time, that's showing up, because eventually that leads to little wins, that leads to bigger wins, right? To like leads to bigger stuff, because it's part of like what we do in the small will become big, right? So that's the kind of the mindset is like, I just want to get on base. I just want to make that post. I just want to post it out there. If it's bad, I'll look at it again and say, how can I make it better?
I love that analogy, baseball analogy and social media and just getting on base and grand slams and all that. I want to ask specifically about one thing that I think is a massive grand slam. Maybe it's like a 2-3-peat or something on the topic of sub drop. Can you explain a little bit for our viewers and listeners? If you guys don't know, if you go on any of his pages, he's found some creative ways to incorporate this sub drop. Please explain to us the origin story of that and how it became such a grand slam.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I'll say this. So the sub drop, it was like, I knew that it was like, I love hitting that. I love going into the chorus with it because it makes that, a sub drop is basically like a low bass frequency that crescendos, which means gets louder or extends itself.
Can you emulate the sound for the viewers?
Ooh.
That one's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm not even going to
Come on, try it.
No.
You have perfect pitch, remember?
Relative.
Anyway, so I don't know why. Well, I know why it did so well. So the first time I did it, I actually over edited the sub drop. So I played it normally, and it was like during Great Are You Lord, which there's no reason why you should be doing a sub drop if you don't know that song, Great Are You Lord. There's no reason.
Where have you been?
Yeah, first of all, where have you been in reality? But there's no reason to do the sub drop. So I did do the sub drop, and I accidentally because I always try to put like the sub drop in like a different, so I can like raise the volume or whatever, and I couldn't hear it through my speakers. So I was like, man, that's lame. So I raised like the sub drop to like 500%. So I was like, I still can't hear it. All I hear is just, oh, okay, well, I guess this will do. So I put it in there, and the MD, which his name is Brendan, from the Church Revere, he starts laughing and cracking up because it was a very you're not supposed to do this. That's the point. You're not supposed to play a sub drop here, but I did anyway. And in this, though, in the clip, it actually distorts your speakers for a moment and distorts every single person singing. So it starts rattling, right? And I was like, and after I posted on Instagram, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I need to take this down. And within 5-10 minutes, there was over 100 likes and also comments. I was like, I'll just let it ride.
Yeah.
I'll just let it ride. If they break their speakers, it's not my fault. But that was like kind of how it started. And then I was like, I did another, this was actually completely accidental, where, so Brendan, same kind of thing. He forgot to plug in the power source to the computer, so it died halfway through the first song, right? And he was like flustered and just like, so I went to go hit kind of like a low bass sound, like it was like not a sub drop, but it was like at the beginning of a very slow, ethereal worship moment, which is like piano, and I hit the pad again and I was like thinking it was just like this whoosh, right? Kind of like it was definitely not that. It was definitely a sub drop. So then Brendan, because he was having this whole like flustered moment, just like that sub drop healed him, right? Like he just became brand new. He started laughing, bit his like finger, all these things because he was trying to contain his laughter. And I knew in that moment that sub drops equaled salvation because he got so someone had said that in like a comment, right? Like, and I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Sub drops equal salvation. I'm going to take it. So I did ones for like during the blessing and it made no sense. There's no reason to do it. Again, that's kind of like the trend. So it's like mixing something that's kind of funny. It's still applicable musically, right? And it's not really a distraction in the worship space, but it's just, why would you do that? It's hilarious. So that's kind of how it came about. You never know when this moment will happen, right? You never know when like people will start following you for whatever you're posting. You just have to continue with it. And then again, continually like rework it and make it better, So anyway, that's how the sub drop came about.
Do you have a schedule you stick to?
A good question. So I try to do at least 4 to 6 times a week. And so posting wise. So,
Sure.
And it depends on the week. It depends on what the goal is too. So for me, I don't have like a content schedule, calendar or whatever, other than like Facebook. Facebook's taking like all my reels that I've done well from Instagram and posting it on Facebook, which is great because it's just doing like the automatic work. But I try to stick to like specific times. And I think that's like an important thing. And there's different camps on that. People will say like, it doesn't matter. The content's what's most important. If content's good, it'll do well. I think also if you're in a certain area and you have a certain following that watches your stuff, you should post to them because like it does help whatever the traction is of that video. So like I said, I try to stick to 4 to 6 times a week. And I've been doing that again since 2020 at least. So you can do 52 times 5 roughly. And so that's how many times I've been posting. Like, and I'll obviously like archive some videos that I just like. One has bad sound after all, but I just wanted to get on base, like I mentioned. So even if it's a clip that I was like, I like this, and it was for me, or something that I was like, one person's gonna find this like entertaining or educational, I still would post it and then look back and say, okay, it wasn't the greatest, so I'm just gonna archive it, never delete, because for whatever reason the social media platforms don't like that. So just archive it, and that's just something I would do because again, wanting to get on first base.
Yeah.
As long as I'm on first base, something good's gonna happen in that game.
That's a lot of content creation.
Absolutely.
And you've mentioned how you don't really know what kind of content's going to be success. For every video that may have gone 100,000, there may be like 10 that got 100 views or something.
Absolutely.
That's kind of parallels to a lot of what the music industry is like. There's a lot of ups but really there's way more downs. In your career so far, how have you overcome adversity?
I think as musicians, we have to always have like, whether it's a positive attitude or just like a hopeful outlook. So, I mean, I'll just be honest. There's how many no's do we get on getting a gig or losing an opportunity or fill in the blank? So that's always going to be there. But for me, again, like I guess glass half full kind of person or whatever. I always think I just need that one yes, whatever that one yes is. And I think from my perspective, I was on tour in 2019 with a group. They're like a desert rock punk band from El Paso, and we were playing at the Fillmore in Philadelphia. A beautiful venue. Philadelphia is also a beautiful place. But I bring this up because backstage at the Fillmore, they have a brick wall. And if your name is on this brick wall, right, you have like your own little brick. And I saw Tori Kelly on it. I saw a bunch of other great bands, artists, groups, whatever, fill in the blank. And I was like, man, there are so many names on this brick wall. And it was not like a discouraging thing. It was like, wait a minute. Something clicked in my head. It's like, that means there's that many opportunities out there that I can possibly get on one. I'm just one person that wants to do something good, whether in the music industry or just in general. I can definitely be there because if I've been given this call, whatever you want to call it, a gifting, a fill in blank, right? Why wouldn't I be able to be there? It starts with the perspective. So overcoming like all the no's, because there's been times where like I've played with a legendary bass player and they're like, that wasn't it. And I was crushed, right? Like there was like no turning back. I was like, I'll never get a gig again in my lifetime. But when I realized the world is so much bigger, the brick wall having all these names on it, there's that many more opportunities, whether it's playing the drums, whether it's being a drum tech, if I ever wanted to go down that route. Now we have playback engineers. I can also invest in learning how to play a piano, a different instrument. There's so many things that I can do to get me to a different level. It doesn't just stop at that no, because everything's like, I think we have to like improve our skills and talents, right? So when it comes to that no, when it comes to that, man, I did a horrible job on that live album recording, whatever it is, I have to like, you have to say like, that's just either like one instance that I wasn't at my best. How do I be prepared now for the next time so I don't do that again? How do I get the next gig or the opportunity and do better than the last? It's all becomes to like my hard work and also my preparation. And I think that a lot of people have always like said like I get like fearful before I go on stage or something along those lines. And I think for me it's like preparation helps you like kill those nerves, helps you not be like stage fright, all those things, because you are so ready to do something that it's like second nature. And you don't have to worry about the losses or trying to overcome something because you've already overcome it on your own to get to the next place.
What would you say are some of the qualities that professional musicians should have? Let's touch on three major ones.
Let's three major ones. I would say, man, attention to detail is huge. So, like, I'll say we mentioned Sean Foyt earlier, and you've played with him, which is great that you got to do that and have got to like record with them too and all these different things. For me, I think the first like let us worship, and I think about that because I was one of those moments where it's like I did not think my attention to detail mattered. So in one of his songs, I think it's called First Commandment. Have you played that one? Or
I
no?
haven't. No.
So it's called First Commandment, and in going into the final chorus, okay, there's a build up and then it ends on the end of 4, not on a downbeat. And then there's a low chorus for just the first half to a cymbal swell to the drum beat, not a fill, not a build, drum beat. So I was like, I've never met this guy before. I figure I'm not going to practice with him. I have no idea what to expect from this whole adventure that I said yes to, right? So I learned that. And I was like, I'm just going to play what it is because, again, if I have no rehearsal time, which we only played like, we only like sound checked 2 songs with them to make sure everything was dialed in and just went for it for this whole 2-hour event that I've never played with this artist or worship leader, whatever you want to call Sean, because he's a good musician. So we practiced this one. So during the sound check, I did exactly that. Build out on end of 4, down chorus, cymbal swell into the drum groove, right? He turns before, like he stopped singing, he turns to me and said, "You nailed all the parts." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, you're talking to me?" First of all,
I've never done this before.
I'm actually a fraud. I got the other Chris Garcia is in the car. So, and that was one of those moments where like, man, I paid attention because really when you think about it, musicians are in the studio, producers, whatever, they finally tune everything sometimes to make sure that it's the right part for the song. They've tried all the other little nuances, but this was the one that worked. And this was the thing that made it a little different or whatever it is. And now you're paying respect to their work by doing what's on the record until you've gained like rapport until you've gained like camaraderie with the group, you don't need to do anything else until you get to that point. Once you get there, you can do other things. Like you can say, hey, can we make these things different? And that's when you've gained trust. And we could talk about branding and respect. But until then, like do what was asked of you. I was paid to be there to play bum, 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 shh, boom, boom, God. That's what I was paid to do. And I did that. And he recognized the attention to the detail. It led to eventually like doing like a live album recording with them, and just other opportunities and such. But it was because of the attention to detail. So that's one example I can think of. I think another one is I try to, whether it happens or not, but I try to treat everyone like they're the CEO, no matter who they are, right? So whether it's the sound man or the staff that's there, the security, whoever it is, because you just never know who's who. And the point is like, that's our job anyway, is to treat everybody with like kindness and respect, right? And if you do that, it goes a long way, because you won't treat someone more important than the other. And then sometimes, I mean, I'll even say myself, I've treated the wrong person better, and I've treated the one that was like, oh, you're nobody, you know, and with
Wow.
and who did they become? Someone that's like, man, I wish. And it was like, it's like a learning thing, because like you don't treat certain people with more respect than others. You just treat everyone with it, right?
Yeah.
Because that translates to how you play with other musicians too. Because again, communication, right? If you're able to like have a conversation with someone to whatever degree, that's what music is. And so if you're trying to like gain that trust with everybody and listening to everyone and growing that support and that team bond, so to speak, having the ability to treat everybody with the same respect, and even more so as they're the CEO, goes a long way, especially in music. But the third one, I think, you know, just being able to, because that's part of like the personality stuff. It's just really just, we've said that he's treating people with respect, but being on time. Like it goes back to, and I struggled with this. So Paquette was the one that called me out on it.
Shout out Pac-Man Productions.
Pac-Man Production. He's on season 1.2.0 as well? Because wasn't he there the day I was there?
Yeah, he was there the day you were there. Exactly.
It's in the draft still. We're gonna post it eventually. But so Paquette, it was like, and this was like, again, one of those eye-opening things for me, because it was right before like a lot of great things started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of this just kind of like calling me out, saying, hey man, do you think that your time is more important than like, you know, Julie over there, I don't know if that's her name, that has a kid and a family at home, or Sam that was like, you know, doing a test and had to get here still on time for rehearsal? And I was like, no, that's I would never think that. that's the dumbest thing in the world. He goes, well, you do that when you don't show up on time. You do that when you say that your time is more precious, that you're a little late, that they're not late because they came here well, like prepared and on time, and you just showed up like lackadaisical, and that's just showing disrespect towards them. I was like, man, the subtle like non-verbals, right? The those type of things where you're showing disrespect when you don't mean to, that changed my perspective. I was like, man, I can't be late anymore. I'm going to be on time. And obviously like there's grace. We're all human. Traffic happens. We're in California. The tires explode on the freeway. By the way, I'm convinced that Kevin has a picture of a popped tire. So whenever he needs to get out of, whenever he needs to get out of jail, and then he changes the time on his Android to like, oh, it's Sunday
Why
morning.
you gotta shout out the Android though? Just
You can do it on iPhone now too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I know because there's no way that same tire popped 3 times in a row. You know what I mean?
it is a sports car though.
That's a coincidence. One time, okay. Fool me twice. I don't know about that. Anyway, so I think that's super crucial because again, you're not coming prepared. You're showing up whenever you want to. Things happen, but just have that respect for others. It goes back to that. So coming prepared, showing up on time, and treating everybody with respect.
You recently posted this past week actually on your story.
Yeah.
Attention to detail. Give the example of what happened.
Sure. So just short, I like posting on my stories that there's drum opportunities or even bass, guitar, doesn't matter, whatever. People reach out to me and say, hey, do you know of a specific musician that can fill this date? And I, try to help because to me, that's the most important thing. I would have wished someone did that for me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do for someone else the same thing. It goes back to like the origin story. Anyway, so in this case, I'll put like, for example, on this one, Sunday, the date in a specific city. This will just say Laguna Hills. And then other detail, and it's like play to a click track, which just start learning how to play with the click, people. It's not that, whatever. There's other specific detail. Someone reached out and said, what city is it in? Now, I don't mind answering. Everybody deserves kindness. Everybody deserves, like, again, I go back to the same respect because I wish, I know that I would have said this. I would have been like, what city? Like, or how's the pay? Like all these things. So to me, the thing was, don't do these certain things. You wouldn't go to like Indeed.com and it says, we need this. And you're like, do you need this? It says we need this, right? It's a same kind of heart posture, same kind of mindset for professionalism. So if you see, it says in the city of Laguna Hills, if you didn't see that, then that means you just weren't paying attention. You weren't reading. You weren't understanding. Attention to details matter. So if you read, it's in Laguna Hills. And so one kid did. He read the whole thing. He goes, hey, I live 45 minutes away from this place. What time's sound check? That's a good question because I did not specify what time sound check is because he's trying to determine, can I get there in time? Will I be grumpy because whatever the story is, right? And what time you're going to finish. Those are legitimate questions. Asking what city it is, what's it in, while it's already saying what city it's in is not a legitimate question, right? You can say, is it like Laguna Hills, California? When it says Laguna, yes, it is Laguna. Like that, I'm beating a dead horse here. So that kind of thing. Or, other questions too are like, how, like, I don't really like to give away the church, the MD, the worship, whoever it is offering the opportunity, because to me, that's none of your business. Like not until you've been approved to have this conversation with them. They're giving you an opportunity. You'll get to talk to them if you've passed that test, whatever that test is. And usually it goes to like having clips, or they could see that you have good character, fill in the blank, whatever it is. Or I can vouch for you and say like, I've given Kevin opportunities. He's given me some. So it'd be like, hey, Kevin, someone over there needs it. Can you do it? We already know each other. We have rapport. If I don't know you, that's a different story. We had one actually, last weekend or whatever, about playing at a certain church, and I didn't know who he was. You kind of knew who he was. And you're like, oh yeah, I could speak to him then. I could speak about him in a way where it's like, hey, I kind of know him. So it gets them past that, like, we have no idea who this person is, and we don't know if they'll show up on time or not. So we can speak into that. But if we can't speak into any of it, then you have to help us help you in some kind of way. So that's the point in like being able to read the attention to detail, not asking who they are to reach out to them personally, because what if they don't want you to reach out to them personally? Like, I can't imagine it's like, Sean needs a drummer or Kim needs a drummer. I'm going to reach out to Kim and I've never talked to her before. And Kim Walker-Smith is who's Kim. Yeah. I'm not going to reach out to her on our personal like line. That's crazy, right? So you have to have respect for it's still an opportunity. It's still work, regardless if it's in a church, at Chuck E. Cheese. It doesn't matter where the gig is. You have to have the same respect. So questions, not asking about how big the church is or...
Do they have a green room?
Do they have a green room? Are there accommodations? Those... You can ask those questions after you've got hired, right? After you've had like that conversation with the worship pastor. So asking time is fine. Asking how many songs, what the difficulty is. There was a guy that's asked, like, has like a couple gospel songs, and like, hey, can you play, not full gospel, but kind of in the middle, like, Maverick City to like whatever. So it's like those questions are legitimate because it's like helping us find the right person, right? I'm not a like hiring agency, but I might as well just be one. Like with all like the opportunities, which I'm very grateful to just help people. So my point is like there's good questions to ask and there's not good questions to ask, right? What would be a question that you think is a no to ask an MD or whoever, like like the first question that you're talking to them, what's a no?
Are we playing with click?
That's a no.
Most churches that are up to date, I'd say, everybody's playing with stems and multi-tracks, or, there's an MD of some sort, but there's always a click.
Right.
So I'd say if that question's asked, I don't know. I feel like that'd be my question.
So that would be your like tell that this person's not up to par or not in the know.
Either they're uncomfortable with playing with click, or it's like, this guy probably can't do the job. So
okay.
That's what it would lead me to believe.
Yeah, if you're the guy giving the gig, you're the MD, worship leader, whatever. If someone asked you a specific question, what would that question be? They're like, this is not the guy or girl. That's a good one. The click one is.
Yeah, that's a good one. Man, I don't put me on the spot here.
You guys, they've been asking me so many questions. I'm trying to just.
I just asked them, man, what's your rate?
So the rate is telling on their skill set.
Yeah, pretty much. Or if they even have to ask, to me, it's like already like kind of a little bit unprofessional, especially if I don't know you right away.
Okay.
And we already want to discuss money.
Gotcha. So when is the proper time to talk money? Let's go with church world etiquette, so to speak. So you're, again, worship pastor, leader, whatever. You've told them, hey, I need a drummer for this Sunday. When is it appropriate to then ask about
I
money?
think it goes back to what you were saying. It's like if once this person has passed the test or something, right? And then if I didn't already disclose to you what the rate is, then of course it's natural. And then asking for a negotiation might be a little weird, especially if it's your first time.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that because I think 100% the same thing. I think if someone's asking you to be there, right? And like, yeah, hey, you're hired or whatever it is, you got to go with what they're giving you. And obviously if it's pennies, you can just say no, right? If I say like, hey, it's actually $50 for 4 services and you have to be there from 6 a.m. till like 2 p.m. I have everything within me to say like, hey man, I appreciate that. I don't want to negotiate. I just can't do it for that rate. And I think it's no disrespect to anybody that's gone through that, right? That like we've all been there, we've all done something wild like that. But it's important to have that kind of conversation and in a respectful way, saying, "Hey, that's kind of low. That's like $1 an hour, roughly. Yeah. I can literally go to Uber Eats and make more money, although I want to be there and serve, right? So like, never the heart posture is not the issue. It's like that's criminal in some kind of way. If it's volunteer work, that's fine too. Like no problem. People do it all the time. And that's okay. But if you're asking someone because you're needing them, that's a little bit different story. We can go on a long. We can have a whole thing about this on it.
I think we've spoken about it too because one of the interesting things about that is some events or some churches that you play for or gigs that you do, honestly, are investment opportunities.
Yep.
So he might hit me up and say, "Hey man, the gig pays $50 or $100, whatever, but this." So-and-so is going to be there for he plays for this artist. That's the way I view it. Sometimes it's not what I want to get paid. I feel like I should get paid as much as I obviously can, that's what
I'm $1,000 an hour.
Exactly.
And they're actually
disclose your rates, guys.
I'm hoping this goes overtime. It's 2,000. I'm just kidding.
So I think it really depends on that. Is it an investment opportunity? Yeah, I'm not getting paid a lot, and it's a far drive, but man, there's an opportunity to meet this artist or this musician that I really want to work with. It really depends on that.
That's a great point. I was gonna say like to add to that, right? Because we always like musicians always talk about like the 3 criteria. You know what the 3 what is it? For a gig?
Good hang, good pay,
good food.
That's Kevin. The third one's good music, Kevin. Hey, it's okay if it's the Chad and Chris podcast. Right. He could be our guest next week.
It's all
it's still in the branding. But like you just said, like the 3 things, like if the money's not great, but the music and the hang is good, you never know what's going to happen. Wasn't that like you got to play with like Tori Kelly that one time?
That was at AJ's wedding, actually.
At a wedding, right?
Yeah. I think I called you too. I was like, "Do we need to get tracks?" And he goes, "Dude, just do your thing." He goes, "Don't worry about it." And it ended up being a really, really good time.
And going to branding, man, there's so many ways we can go with this. But branding wise, like I know I can trust Kevin, and I'm just saying this. I know that he's going to unless he has that picture ready to go, showing that he has a flat tire. I know I can trust Kevin with getting to like a church on time, getting to a gig on time, and showing up prepared. I know you're going to be prepared. I know you're going to like nail the parts. I know people are not going to hate you afterward, right? Because you're a good person to be around. People are probably going to laugh. You're going to talk about Peruvian food. So if they weren't in love with Peruvian food beforehand, they'd probably have a bottle of his mom's sauce by the end of the gig, right? Yeah. And I'm saying this all with like 100% respect, and the point in that is like, I know that I don't have to babysit him in getting a gig or completing a gig and making sure that he makes my name look good. Because we talk about like offering opportunities, it's partly my name that's on whoever I'm endorsing, whatever. And I usually tell people, I have no idea who this person is. So vaya con Dios. Like I don't, good luck. I know that you've said yes to this person. I just like steered you in that way. But if someone asks me like, who do you trust? I'm like, oh, Kevin, for sure. He can get the job done. And I like already did the list, right? So these people, same with Chad, like you have to have these people that their branding or the reputation speaks for them. Obviously, friends and boys, but it only becomes that because you work in the same space and you're like, hey, we're now friends because we've worked in the same space. And now you've become a trusted, reliable source compared to someone like, well, they might show up on time.
Chris, you were actually able to ask your audience some questions. And so we're going to read them off now. So this is coming straight from you guys. Here's question number 1. Somebody asked, what is the best way to network? Maybe you can give some tips, some do's and don'ts.
We were kind of getting to that, but networking is, I think, I hate this phrase, but it's like your network is your net worth, right? That's like the most terrible, because you don't want to look at people as that. However, the only way to progress in any way is the people that know you. It doesn't matter who you know. That's irrelevant, as we all know, right? So it's people that trust you, people that know you. So the only way to get to the next whatever that is being at those places with other people, even if it's serving them. Because like there's times where you're not going to be playing. You have to go to their gigs, right? I'm sure you can help out in any of like how you guys gotten to certain places, but like a lot of times it's the friends you've played with, friends you've worked with, people that you've built and fostered relationships with. All that stuff matters. And when it comes to the church world, you have to sometimes take a Sunday off and go meet people, and hopefully they call you one day. I remember one of the drummers for Influence before us, Israel, he had not played at Influence, and he had just met them, blah, blah, blah. On an Easter Sunday, the drummer called out, and Izzy was not playing somewhere, right? So just because he had met these people and they knew of him, he was able to play, and then he became the normal drummer there consistently, right? Because that one person called out. So there's always going to be opportunity that comes up, and can you go and do whatever that is? So it's just the amount of people that know who you are. Because I'll say for myself, in my experience, I would not have done XYZ gig if it wasn't for the person that knew of me or of like how I function and then got me that gig. So you guys please add into this, because networking is, I think, everything when it comes to being a musician.
Yeah, it is. It is extremely important. I think a lot of times people may confuse networking as transactional.
Ooh. Did you just hear that bomb drop?
That was a sub drop, man. Insert that here.
Don't do the one that distorted this.
Not the distorted.
Not the
300%. No. Let me say that again. A lot of people view networking as transactional, but really, I think you should be investing in relationships. I think that's so important. Like all of us, we go hang out. We eat, we do all kind of fun stuff. Obviously, you're a professional at your craft, but if you do see networking as transactional, people kind of see right through you. And the reality is, in a relationship, it's a two-way street. And I know, like you mentioned earlier, you wanted to just start giving back to the community without necessarily asking for anything in return. But in that sense, I'm pretty sure you've gotten so much in return because of just your generosity.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that's a relationship,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of networking, I'd say like try not to view it as transactional, like, oh, if I get to know this person or if I get to be in their phone book, then cool, that's my way to get in. These things take a lot of time to develop. And somebody you might have met 5-10 years ago, and you may be in a different state or something like that, might remember you for, whatever reason. And that could be the big call for something.
That's I'm going to add just my story recently. So in October, but September, whatever. But it also ties into one of the questions, like someone asked, like, how do you get like invested with people in other states? Like, thankfully we have social media, so there's a way in that. But as an example, with Kim Walker-Smith, so I would not have done the tour that I did with her had it not been for one time invested. So I never got to know not only just her or Scott Davis as her normal drummer, or the band Eli, Isaac Chams with his keyboards, and MD. So and Brandon, I only met him once, but I wasn't intending to just like hang out with them or be friends with them just so that I can get on a tour. That was not the intent. So originally, for example, we've played with Kim at Influence, so that was like the first connect. Then I met Scott Davis through Instagram, where someone said like, did I play on one of her albums? I was like, no, it was actually this guy. Scott Davis is the normal drummer, blah, blah, blah. So through that, we became friends. We did like a couple lives together. We've been on the phone, like phone calls just to hang out, just know each other. He lives in NorCal next to Bethel area. I live in SoCal. So that's one way of like, I'll call that a completely different state, because we know NorCal, it might as well just be its own world. Anyway, or SoCal should be. But anyway, through that, I had no intention of I'm going to do something because I'm friends with them. It was just like, oh, I love what you do. Let's just be friends, because that's what we like. When you know other people in that kind of space, you want to just be their friend, right? So, and I wasn't expecting I'm going to get X thing because of it. The first thing he asked me to do was like a conference here in Anaheim, playing with Derek Johnson and again Eli and Isaac. It was like some very like an entrepreneur Christian conference. So I got to do that opportunity. Wasn't intending to get it. Eventually, years later, Scott was not able to do the tour, and I still didn't get the call. I just got to do like a one-off or two with her because they just needed someone that could fill in his space while he took some time away. So it's like I wasn't intending to get this opportunity in all this situation, but the drummer that was supposed to be on that tour canceled on her like the week before. I get a text message while I'm at church, and it's Kim saying, "Hey, Chris, guy backed out. Can you do these dates?" And I'm like, yes, of course I can. But there was a whole challenge with that because I was on another tour that was whatever. So all that to say is that I was never trying to be transactional in getting what eventually occurred. I never thought that would even be a possibility in just becoming their friends or just even interacting with them on that level. So back to what you said, you cannot go with it as the transactional because that they'll see right through you. Everybody knows your kind of intent when you come around.
We talk about being a good hang, and that being the emphasis in general. I think across the board, you just have to be someone you're relevant in your conversations. You can connect with people. You're down to earth. Because a lot of the times you're not performing 8 hours out of the day. You actually are helping me with this, but having like you're real ready if you need to share something. And hey, can you play this style? Like somebody asked me, hey, can you play jazz? And obviously none of my videos are about jazz, but I'm like, I can play jazz if it's not bebop at 240 BPM, chameleon or something, but, I'm like, but I do have that stuff ready, in any case that, hey, if you need something else from me, here you go. But I'm not begging you for the gig. I'm not saying put me on. I'm not, because again, it does come off as transactional. It does come off more than just like, I want to be your friend just because of who you're connected with.
And I think the hardest part, man, there's so many ways to go about this, but like the hardest part is trying to be genuine in all this because we all know that you want something in a way, right? Like I want gigs, I want to get notoriety, I want to get whatever the thing is, right? So it's like there's like a balance to it. So it's like you can't just come out of the gate swinging. And then you can't also just be super passive. So it's like there's somewhere in the middle that all this kind of works. And I think, like I'll ask you guys, like if, as an example, if someone were to DM you right now, right, and say they want to be on an Anna Barbara tour, you're the guy, you're the drummer, or just something similar, right? What would be the DM that's like, hey, I'm gonna trust this guy or girl compared to these other DMs that have asked the same question, right? So what is a proper way to go about it to just reach, like again, cold calling, right? How are they going to ask you for an opportunity and you're going to be like, I trust this person?
I think clips are really important. Send me 15, 30-second clips of that style, you playing with tracks or, that cumbia music. And then, if I need more information, here's more videos or here's my website or my Instagram. And then that's all I need.
So that's great. So one, if they've never played with an artist of that kind before, but they had clips saying, hey, I really want to do what you do. These are my like videos. I can play the style or I live the style. That will still go over more or compared to the person that doesn't have them, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Unless they've obviously had experience with some kind of artist that's in the same field.
Right.
Okay.
You'd have to jump on a call anyway or some type of like way of getting to know them because what about, they can do all these gigs, but they're divas or they're just stuck up or, it's like they believe that they're it.
They're the star.
Exactly. They're the sauce, So it's like you want to know because we go back, we always talk about the hang. I don't know if you remember this, Chad. The way we met was we went to Peruvian food.
Oh, amazing.
With Kevin.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know you don't remember. This shows how much of a friend you are.
You're also
wait, no, I do remember this.
Hey, you're also not in his wedding, right?
Yeah, I'm also not in his
wedding. What kind of friends?
Yeah, we went to dinner. Kevin arranged it, and it was Chad, myself, Alex, and
it was
Kevin.
in Rancho.
It was in Rancho.
Off the 210.
sick.
The place used to be called JP Latin Deli.
Yeah, that's right.
Now it's called Lucho's Restaurant. Amazing. There was this cook there. She passed away during COVID. Her name was Chami.
Oh, that's
man, some of the best ceviche I've ever had in my life. But that's where we went. I mean, now 8 years ago, something like
amazing.
that.
Yeah, and that's fun. And I guess not networking, but networking, I do remember you playing at Kevin Jimenez's wedding. And the one thing that stuck in my mind was, man, this guy's snare is popping. And then I saw you at that hang, and then I don't remember where or whatever when I probably asked you for a gig because I remembered his snare, and I'm like, this guy's perfect. Snare tone, important.
I will say that's very important, and actually like part of branding too, because you want to have your own sound. But one of the things I do remember, like we were Facebook friends,
Mhm.
and then we met at NAMM.
That's right. Through Michael.
Through Michael.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I've seen your stuff. And like we actually met and I was like, oh, you're actually a good human being. I want to be your friend.
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
want to like hang out with you kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that goes, again, not transactional. It was like, give me a gig, Kevin, please. But in like our friendship, it's like, hey, I need, I trust you in doing this. Can you do it? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Sometimes, it's beneficial to add things that you can do for free. I'll say this. Chad approached me when I used to have my own podcast show 5 years ago. And so he goes, dude, I love what you're doing. He goes, but your audio needs some work. In the nicest way possible. He was very.
How did you say
I
that?
literally said, I cannot hear. My volume's on max. Please, this is Abraham Laboreal. I need to know the most recorded basis of all time. What is he saying? And he published it. You couldn't even hear it.
Shout out to Alex Maldonado, who at that time I didn't have my own gear. I borrowed all the cameras.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I was shooting 1080p, 24 frames a second.
Amazing.
I was. He had to record handheld the whole time.
He
And
held it in his hand the whole
Yes,
time?
Yes, and
Alex.
it was.
Is that why his biceps are so amazing?
And dude, it was about an hour and 20-minute conversation at Center Staging in Burbank
With the legend.
with the legend Abraham Laboreal
And
Sr.
you couldn't hear a thing.
And he could not hear a thing. In bringing that story up is that he goes, dude, I'll just help you out. Send me the audio. I'll mix the audio for you. That's what opens up the opportunity of like, you know what? I want to be this guy's friend just because look at what he did.
Right.
And he didn't ask me for a gig. He didn't ask me for money. It was like, I just want to help you.
Right.
I want to bless you.
Right.
And to this day, he still hasn't paid me for anything. Just throwing that out there.
And he's still not in your wedding. That's just
Yeah.
another thing. Well, you are paying.
Transactional,
You're
baby.
paying him to play at your wedding. So I think
Definitely not.
I think
paying him.
you're still winning right here.
He's paying to fly over there.
Thank God for points.
Oh my gosh, Delta.
Yeah, Delta.
Actually, that's one I think just popcorn question, right? For touring, traveling, what is like a must-have for you as traveling musicians?
I got one. It's deodorant.
Okay, deodorant.
That's a must.
Okay. I mean, then cologne would be the case. I mean, hygiene is pretty important.
True.
A pair of headphones or something like that for the plane ride.
You don't use your ears when you travel?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I meant. In ears.
So yeah.
my
Well,
in-ears.
actually, we'll just say with in ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
in-ears.
deodorant for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any tricks of the trade while you're traveling?
Deodorant's really important, actually, because and you guys can probably attest to this. As musicians, we get the worst
Yeah.
hours of flying.
Yeah.
It's either a red eye or like a super, super early morning.
Yep.
And then by the time you get to the hotel, if you do get to the hotel, sometimes it's straight to the wherever.
Yeah.
All the stores are closed. You can't find deodorant. If you're late, deodorant, toothbrush, whatever, just a little hygiene kit. So
that's a good point.
That's why over the years, it's important.
Yeah. Some tips for traveling. I mean, if we're on the topic, if you're able to get global entry, that includes TSA pre actually.
Yeah.
Get clear. A lot of people confuse clear with TSA pre. If you do TSA pre and you also have clear, you get to the front of TSA pre.
Amen.
So it's not just because you could be,
Amen.
for example, in Atlanta, flying out of. My gosh, that was
one of their 100 terminals.
Yes, it was insane. And so thank God for Clear. They have their own line. So you get to the front of that. So that I'd have a travel credit card. So, get an airline of your preference. Obviously for us, it's Delta.
Yeah.
But lounge access is really important because sometimes your layovers could be 3 to 4 hours.
Absolutely.
So you want to eat. Airport food is $20 to $30.
Mm-hmm.
It's free at the lounge. Those are the tips and tricks I think that are super valuable.
It's funny. I know someone. So someone made a comment on one of my posts, and they're like, "TSA pre-check is so expensive." Because I said that's a very valuable tool to get, and I was like, "I know you don't fly because it's $85
For 5 years.
for 5 years, right? It's not even a yearly thing.
that's right.
So that's if you even do the math, it's like maybe $10, $15. I'm not even going to do proper math, but it's cheaper than a meal for 5 years, and it's absolutely important because even if you fly once a year, getting to a different line compared to security check. Because again, Miami has always been terrible. LAX awful. I've been to Orlando is a terrible one too. Where how long the lines are. And Atlanta, like you mentioned, if you're starting there, it's a rough time. Yeah. And honestly, just having I would say traveling in general. general, having these like little perks are super nice. The Delta Lounge, as an example,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, if you do the math of $40 to $50 meal, drink, whatever, water, soda, doesn't matter, you're spending that about every single time you go there. So that's almost
right.
like almost 100 times for
Right.
per travel.
Yeah.
If you've traveled that's 500. Like you do the math, you're already paying for the lounge. At least at the lounge, you have your own like adapter, so you can charge your phone, charge your things. You can have food, you can have like snacks. Like it's just such a benefit to have those kind of things, and it's the same price for paying what you would normally pay for anyway. That's a great thing to have overall.
We're gonna jump into some rapid fire questions over here. This is gonna be a drummer's thing.
Okay.
If you guys didn't know, I did start on drums. However, I got tired of lugging stuff around, so I switched over to the bass, slinging over the back.
I was gonna say one trip army, like one trip from the car to the gig.
I used to not be. I didn't have a cart. Thank God, Steven DeZone. Shout out to Steven DeZone. Blessed me with a cart. It wasn't transactional, although it comes off that way. I gave him a tribute band gig that I couldn't do because I was playing at Disneyland, and so he goes, "Dude, thanks for blessing me with this gig." And he goes, "Do you need a cart?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, I've been doing drums for a long time, similar to not having professional in-ears. Almost 10 years. I don't know if you guys know
didn't
this.
play with in-ears
No,
for 10 years?
I used the KZs
Bro,
from Amazon, $50.
As a drum, that's criminal.
I know.
Go on episode 1 to hear his story about in-ears.
That's criminal.
I know. And I didn't realize the damage I was doing to myself.
Yeah.
For all those years until I got the in-ears. And I'm like, why did I wait so long to get these? You know?
Yeah. Good on Steven for the cart, because if not, he would not be One Trip Army.
I'll say that a friend of mine that's been with endorsement companies for the last 30 years, one of the things he highly recommended to me was, dude, I send out a thank you gift card every year to my endorsement companies. So whoever you're endorsed with, whoever you work with that allowed you, to come on board and, and support you, really they're supporting you in your musical journey. He sends out a $25 gift card to Amazon, Target, whatever, as a thank you for supporting what I do for
that's actually really
living.
good.
And I ever since I started getting endorsements, that's something I keep up with, and they remember you for that. Because look at the roster of musicians that they have on there. If it's a big company, it's over 200-300 of them, and so like it's those little small gestures go a long way.
They really do go a long way. Yeah.
We're gonna end this podcast with some rapid fire drummer things.
Or start it. However you edit this. However you edit.
This will be episode 3.5 for Chris. Scroll back earlier to find out the joke. Here we go, guys. First one is Zildjian or Sabian, and why?
I'm a Sabian guy.
Sabian.
They have a bunch of options for pretty much any style. I mean, look at the Complex series. That goes well with worship. The 21-inch Complex Thin Ride, fantastic. They have 15-inch hats, 20-inch crashes, literally fit every style. And they've been around, over 100 years? Something like that, maybe? Yeah. That's why.
I'm going to go with Zildjian because, I've been a fan of Zildjian. I think they're like my first terrible hi-hat. Wow. Was like a ZBT for sure. But I was like, oh, Zildjian. I like them. So like the Z and everything. I personally, the K-Con series is excellent.
Yes.
I have a Renaissance and a low thin, and a lot of their dark, any of the K custom really it's just so good. Even though you didn't mention them, like Meinl has done a great job in like endorsing drummers as artists, like in like all those videos beforehand. Now that Zildjian has like the Zildjian live thing, I think Larnell Lewis, his strum solo, you know what I'm talking about? That the one thing is like a legendary solo that should live off in the eternity. And it's like one of those drum solos like that. If you want to excel to be an amazing drummer, watch this solo, right? Good. Watch this whole song. So, Zildjian is just, I think they've been a number one for a reason, that's why.
I'm gonna have to go with Zildjian on this one, Kev. I started off on the ZBTs, except for one bad day when I play at a church that had B8s, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? You know what? I have a little bit of money, so I bought a 16-inch B8 Pro crash that I kept in my arsenal. B8 Pro. It's like brilliant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Zildjian all the way. Here we go. Remo or Evans?
Remo. Shout out Remo. That's all I can say. Power Stroke 3, the P77s, Remo Emperors, Clears, the pinstripes are great. Now they have the SMT heads. Shout out to Tina Rodriguez, always helping me out at Remo. Remo.
You had to say that. That's what you're saying. Who's Tina? And
plug,
how
no
much are
plug.
they paying? I will have to say Remo. Remo though, because I think the controlled dot, whatever that one's called,
Yeah,
that one's
that's great.
so good for toms.
Yes.
And then I also the ambassador and/or pinstripe,
Yeah.
the power stroke too. I mean, they're very good. I was Evans before, but I was like, man, there's so many great options with Remo that it just gives like a proper tone. And I didn't want to be because I want to be hipster on this one. What do you think?
I'm Remo all the way.
Yeah.
Started off Travis Barker on the drums, so I had to have those
Oh.
coated emperors and everything. Except for one day when I had a really cheap kit and I needed my kick to be beefy. I did get an EMAD for about 2 years.
You know what's
So-
an underrated head is the Aquarian one.
Mm.
They
the
are
super
always,
super kick.
always
Yes.
so
yeah,
powerful.
You're right about that.
It's crazy to me that they are like
Honorable mention Aquarium.
Yeah, it's an honorable mention. We'll just
Yeah.
go with that. Underrated.
yeah. Shout out to Kevin Jimenez. He used to.
Well, now he's.
I know, but
yeah.
he used to. Anyways.
All right. Drumstick. Vic Firth or Vader?
You
Go
get-
ahead, Chris.
Okay, I'm not getting paid to say this, but Vader all the way. So back in 2019, sticks were breaking over and over and over again with Vic Firth. And this is the reason why I literally the whole stupid like switch to Vader, that hashtag, I was like, that's dumb. And I went to go buy a Guitar Center Vader sticks, and I played them in 2019. I think it was the Los Angeles ones, and then I played with like 5Bs, whatever they were, and both of them lasted me like 2 weeks of a tour, whereas the Vic Firth would be like 3 shows maybe, and that was like 3 days. And I was like, I'm not hitting it poorly. I'm still doing the same thing, but Vader just lasted longer. I never got a blister once with Vader.
Wow.
And I would get blisters all the time, or like just like you know what I'm talking about. They're blisters with Vic Firth. And then I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like
Yeah.
they were more. Vic Firth was more expensive too.
Yeah.
In 2019, now Vader's kind of caught up. So I'm Vader all the way. And Darth Vader, sounds kind of cool.
Chad?
Vic Firth, because I forgot who showed me, but somebody said, put your thumbs where the American flag is. And since then, that's how I gripped my drums.
Tell me you still put your thumbs on the American flag.
I do. They're right there. So I can show you perfect placement all the time. American flag thumbs.
That's a helpful.
Sound percussion.
Ooh.
That was an honorable mention. I
That
guess.
was they used
I
to
was
be
gonna go there. Don't say too much.
they used to be $5.
What?
And they would last
Man.
quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a bit. So it's an honorable mention. We have to include that. But I've had experiences with both pairs of sticks. Ultimately, like you said, the Vaders just last longer. You could have the middle of the stick could be as skinny as a pencil, and it will not break.
It's
So,
true. I've had those.
Yeah.
Like the little beaver.
Yeah,
Like going to the-
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I agree.
That's incredible. All right, you led me to my next question, which is all for the real old OG drummers. Sound percussion or groove percussion?
Sheesh. All right.
Go ahead.
Group percussion for me. My first drum set my father bought me, my family bought me, was a group percussion kit. It was like a sparkling blue. I practiced in the garage, and it was kind of funny. One day I was playing along to Santana's Corazón Espinado, okay? And I grew up Pentecostal. So my dad heard the song blasting in the garage, so loud. And I remember I finished practicing whatever. He goes, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, what's going on? He goes, I don't want to ever hear you play that song again. And I'm like, why not? He goes, is that a Christian song? Is that, are you not in church? And it was very, very strict. It's not the same anymore now. As I got older, he laid off a lot, and he's actually the one that pushed me to do music full time.
Really?
And so he's the one who goes, hey, your brother's getting a job at Gap at the mall. Like, what do you want to do? You're 15, 16 years old. You want to start working? He goes, are there any churches that are hiring drummers?
No way.
He's the one that pushed me to do it, which I used to get paid $50 every 2 weeks.
Amazing.
So
As a teenager.
as a
too.
teenager, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, so group percussion. Shout out.
That's a great story. I'm glad you told us that. No, seriously, that's actually really good. I think so. I started. I don't know what I was doing at 10 years old. And it was groove percussion. It was a black one. It was terrible. And I think the one thing I learned was the boom, tsk, tsk, boom, linear groove, right?
Yeah.
That, and I thought I was playing a Korn song. I think it was, yeah, you remember that band, Korn? We love Korn.
With the K.
With a K, yeah. Backwards R, yeah. Little like sand, whatever. Anyway, I forget which song it was. I thought I was playing. I was nowhere close to it. Now I'm thinking back, but that was like the first. And then I stopped playing because I was just like, someone just taught me one drum beat, and then like my family got me a Premiere kit, like a starter kit. And Premiere, there's still it was sounding good for like fiberglass. I don't know what it was, but yeah. Anyway, so groove percussion, yeah.
Yeah, that makes 3. Groove percussion. My first kit, blue sparkling.
You had the blue sparkle.
18 by 14 kick. You know what I'm saying? But if you guys don't know, I don't know if this is official somewhere, but groove percussion is the brand from Sam Ash. And sound percussion is the brand from Guitar Center.
Is
Wow.
it really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not
You're
know
not going
that.
to find sound percussion in Sam Ash, and you're not going to find groove percussion.
Wow.
Does Sam
in
Ash still
Guitar
exist?
Center. No, it doesn't. Sadly, it closed down.
Yeah, it did.
R.I.P. Sam Ash.
That happened last year, right?
Yeah, I actually walked by one of their original locations in New York while I was in New York last year, and I wanted to take a picture. Totally empty inside.
Whoa.
It was very sad. Yeah, Sweetwater's taking over the game.
You know what? They are so nice there.
Sweetwater, please sponsor us and links for all of our equipment if you sponsor
I
us.
have your credit card too.
Yeah. If you stop texting us at 2 a.m.
My guitar picks are great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate the customer service, but I don't want to wake up to, did you get everything you needed? Not at 2 a.m. We'll send you more candy too. Like that's just the
Here's another fun one.
yeah.
Piccolo snare or popcorn snare?
Popcorn snare. What's a popcorn?
What's a popcorn snare?
A little 10 by 5s.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm gonna have to go piccolo.
Oh.
Yeah, piccolo for me. 100%.
Man, you remember the time that piccolos were the thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we got to go piccolo snare.
Yeah.
You cannot play a No Doubt song and not have a piccolo snare.
I miss you, Travis Barker. Piccolo 3 by 13. That was it. You know.
Orange County drum percussion.
OCDP, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Man, okay.
Vintage
So how's
snares.
this? Let's go with most underrated drummer.
Oh man, that is a tough question.
I know.
That is.
I know.
Really do you have
Lars. I'm joking.
Some could say,
But if Metallica fans, I mean, no offense.
it's true. Lars is I'll say. No, I can't say that one because I think he's not underrated.
Bro, that is a hard question.
You know, I'll go with this. Even though he might not be underrated, but I'm a fan of Fall Out Boy. Okay, Fall Out Boy. I can listen to an entire album through a multiple of their albums, right? But for someone to get the job done in both the pop punk scene and then like what they did, kind of like rock pop, you know, like the last. I would never say like, oh, he's an amazing blazing drummer like a Travis Barker. But for someone to get the job done, to have good parts, and to go unsung, so to speak. I forget his name, but I think Fall Out Boy's drummer, because everything is just so crisp and makes sense with the song. Sometimes it's like boring beats too, but it's what's necessary for the song as a rock drummer.
Sheesh. I can't come up with a
You're
name.
cooked
dude.
right now.
Yeah. I cannot come up with somebody that's underrated in any style, really.
Well, let's end it on this. The big debate, ladies and gentlemen: DW or Yamaha?
DW.
DW.
Why?
So my first big purchase for my family was a DW custom kit. I still have it to this day, 6-piece. Reason being, I saw Godsmack on an Ozfest. I know, crazy Ozfest like video, and it was a black cherry. And I was like, I want that drum set. And I got to meet John Good later on in my life, which was the owner of DW. Great company. Every single piece of their product, even the hardware, like they put so much thought into it. Sounds great, looks incredible. I always thought of them as like the BMW or the Mercedes-Benz of the drum line. Now, what I will say is Yamaha, as we talked about underrated, I think Yamaha is an underrated drum company because every time I've played a Yamaha kit, it's always sounded good. Even like the rookie Premier kit, whatever it is, every single drum from Yamaha has always been solid. But I'm still a fan of DW.
You're making me rethink what I just said.
Ooh, come on.
I'm coming back to growing up in church, and we had a wine red Yamaha
Yeah.
stage custom.
Yep.
which sounded phenomenal. And for the longest time, when I got introduced to gospel music, it was then I started listening to Calvin and his 8-inch.
Calvin Harris?
Calvin Rogers, ladies and
Right,
gentlemen. Calvin is the most recorded gospel drummer, for at least for modern gospel, even in the last 10, 15 years. He's done every major record. So I'm going to have to go with Yamaha, actually.
Wow, because he was with Yamaha,
He was with Yamaha for a long time. Like I said, that 8-inch tom and any of his recordings, man. Oh,
Speaking of Calvin, what is like a signature lick? What's the signature lick?
okay.
That's a herda.
There you go.
Herda.
He does it on Martha Munizzi's Dance. Yeah, I think that's one thing he's really known for.
One of the goats.
To tie it all in together, not one is better than the other. Just off frame, I've got a DW snare with DW hardware on a beautiful Yamaha kit. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Garcia, thank you so much for joining us. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share this with all your friends. Help us grow the Chad and Chong community. Thank you so much again, Chris, Chong. We're signing off. Goodbye.